Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're tackling this huge urgent paradox. You see it in cities all over, but we're really going to zero in on Montreal.
It really is the defining paradox of our cities right now, isn't it? You have these massive, empty office buildings on one side.
Gutted by remote work.
Exactly. And on the other, a desperate, desperate need for housing. So planners are asking, how do we use that empty space to solve this housing crisis?
And in Montreal, the answer seems to be a huge engineered transformation. So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that. We're going to look at the money, the logistics.
Yeah.
Who's actually doing this?
And critically, the complex cocktail of public money that makes it all possible because, and this is key, it can't happen without it.
We're going to look at the money, the plumbing, and the light switches.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so let's start with the numbers because they really paint the picture here. We have these two markets, commercial and residential, that are just completely at odds. Tell us about the commercial side first, specifically those older buildings, the Class B and C ones.
Well, what we're seeing there is, frankly, catastrophic for a downtown core. In those specific categories, older buildings, maybe not the best ventilation, less window space, you're looking at vacancy rates hitting 20, sometimes even 25%.
25%. A
Yeah.
quarter of the buildings are just sitting empty.
An enormous amount of dead space right in the heart of the city, highly valuable, but totally underperforming.
Okay, so now contrast that with the residential rental market in Montreal.
It's the complete opposite. The vacancy rate there is below 2%.
Wow.
And you have to understand, any market below 3% is considered a crisis, a major shortage. But when you dip below 2%, that's an acute social problem.
So that massive gap, a quarter of offices empty, but less than 2% of apartments available, that's the driver.
That is the entire reason office conversion has gone from a niche idea to a core urban strategy.
And the big player leading this charge, the one the source material calls a market barometer, is Group Mock.
Yeah, and that's telling. When a giant Group Mock, or we're talking a 40 million square foot portfolio, makes a move this big, it's not a risky bet.
It's a strategic shift.
It's a calculated exit from a dying asset class. They aren't converting their shiny new towers. They are specifically targeting their surplus, their Class B and C buildings that are just bleeding tenants.
So this isn't just about building housing for them. It's about fixing their own balance sheet.
100%. They have two goals here. First, get that dead weight off their books, reduce that commercial vacancy. Second, turn that money-losing asset into a high-demand, very lucrative residential rental property.
It's a recognition that the old way just isn't coming back.
It's not. The 9 to 5, 5 days a week corporate model for those buildings is gone.
And this isn't just one company. This is happening all over the city now, right?
Yeah.
At a huge scale.
Oh, the scale is breathtaking. I mean, you look at a project like 600 de Maisonneuve-Ouest, that's a massive project. They're turning twin office towers into almost 700 rental apartments.
700. That's basically a whole village in two buildings.
It is. Think about that. Hundreds of new homes injected right into the core, using space that used to be empty most of the time.
And it's not just the developers, it's the big institutional players too.
Precisely. You have someone like Ivanhoe Cambridge, a huge commercial manager. They're now looking at their properties like 1001 Robert Bourassa and actively thinking, how can we mix residential in here?
It's a total change in philosophy.
A complete shift. And you even see it on a smaller scale in places like Old Montreal, where these beautiful old heritage office buildings are being snapped up for luxury condo conversions.
So the theme is the same everywhere, office to home.
That's the functional shift.
Okay, so the ambition is there. The need is obviously critical. But let's talk about the cold, hard reality of cost. This sounds like an easy fix, but the sources are clear. It's incredibly expensive.
Yeah, the sticker shock is real. You are looking at a capital cost of somewhere between $300 and $500 per square foot.
$300 to $500.
Per square foot. So no, this is not a cheap and easy solution. It's a staggering amount of money.
So what's driving that? I mean, you've got the shell of a building, you have walls, a roof. Why is it so expensive to turn cubicles into apartments?
Because you're basically gutting a building that was never, ever designed for people to live in. The engineering challenges are immense.
Okay, what are the big ones?
Well, there's often seismic retrofitting you have to do, especially on older stock. But the two real project killers, the things that drive up that price tag, are plumbing and light.
Let's break those down because that's a key detail for you to grasp. Let's start with plumbing.
Okay, so in an office tower, all the plumbing stacks for the washrooms and so on, they're all jammed together in the central core of the building.
Right, that sense. It's efficient.
Very efficient for an office. But for apartments, you need a bathroom and a kitchen in every single unit stretched out across the whole floor.
So you have to run all new pipes.
You have to punch brand new lines vertically through concrete, floor by floor, for every single apartment. It is a huge, huge construction cost.
And then there's light.
Yeah.
Office buildings have big windows, but they're designed differently, right?
Exactly. They're designed to light up a single deep space where most people are under artificial light anyway. The floor plates are deep.
But an apartment needs bedrooms with windows.
An apartment needs bedrooms and living rooms with windows that can actually open. So you have this deep floor plate where the center of it is pitch black. You often have to physically cut new openings, new fenestration into the side of the building just to make the units livable.
Wow. Okay, so given those costs, let's look at the city's math here. Prime commercial space generates more tax revenue than residential, right?
When it's full, yes.
So why is Montreal pushing this so hard? Isn't this a financial hit for them?
That's the key question, and the answer is risk. Yes, a full Class A office tower is a tax goldmine, but an empty one is a fiscal black hole. You're getting zero revenue.
And a quarter of them are empty.
Right. So residential provides a stable, consistent tax base year after year. For the city, it's better to have that guaranteed revenue than to gamble on the high-risk commercial market of the past returning. It's risk mitigation.
That makes perfect sense. And it brings us to the real heart of this deep dive, the money. Because with that $500 a square foot cost, a private developer just can't make the math work alone.
Impossible. The profitability depends entirely on what we're calling this multi-layered financial stack. You need support from all three levels of government.
This is the essential takeaway for you, the listener. You have to understand these three pillars. So let's start at the top, the federal level.
The federal lever is the engine. It's what makes everything else possible. And it's driven by CMHC, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation.
And the main tool isn't a grant, it's not cash, it's insurance.
Right. It's the APH Select Loan Insurance Program. And this thing is a game changer for a developer's capital structure.
How does it do that? How does it reduce their risk?
It offers financing terms that no private bank would ever touch on its own. It is incredibly powerful. First, it allows them to finance up to 95% of the project's value.
So they need very little cash up front.
Very little. And second, and this is huge for cash flow, it extends the amortization to 50 years. A normal commercial loan might be 25. This drastically lowers their monthly mortgage payment.
And that changes the bank's own math, their debt coverage ratio requirement.
Exactly. Normally, a bank wants a big safety cushion, but with APH Select, the income only needs to cover the mortgage by 10%. That lower barrier means the bank is willing to lend way more money, making the whole thing possible.
So that's the leverage. But then the federal government also added a huge cash incentive recently.
A massive one. They removed the 5% GST, the federal sales tax, on new rental construction, and that includes conversions.
So that's just a straight saving?
It's a direct, immediate saving. The math is simple. On a $50 million project, that's $2.5 million that just stays in the developer's pocket. It instantly makes the project more profitable.
Okay, that's the federal piece. A huge boost.
Yeah.
Now let's move down to the provincial level, to Quebec.
So Quebec's main goal here is affordability. This is where the Société Habitation du Québec, the SHQ, comes in.
With a program called PHAQ.
Right, the Quebec Affordable Housing Program. This is a direct subsidy. It's cash designed to help cover the costs of the affordable units in the building.
But there are strings attached.
Of course. In exchange for that money, the developer has to guarantee that a certain number of units will have below-market rents for a long time. We're talking 15, even up to 35 years.
So that links the provincial money directly to affordability.
Directly. And then Quebec also followed the federal government's lead on the sales tax.
This is the other huge cash piece.
This is the other huge piece. Quebec agreed to rebate their provincial sales tax, the QST, which is almost 10%.
So you add the 5% GST rebate and the nearly 10% QST rebate.
And you're getting back roughly 15% of your construction costs just from tax credits. On a big project, that's millions and millions of dollars. It's the single biggest cash incentive.
Okay, finally, the municipal lever. How does the city of Montreal help reduce costs?
Montreal uses its regulatory power. Specifically, they're targeting their bylaw for a diverse metropolis, which most people just call the 20-20-20 rule.
And what does that rule normally do?
Normally, it forces developers to include social, affordable, and family housing in their projects. And if they don't, they have to pay a massive financial penalty instead.
A penalty that could kill a project already struggling with these high conversion costs.
Absolutely. It could be tens of millions of dollars. The city knew that if they enforced that rule, none of these conversions would ever get built.
So they waived it.
They strategically suspended the entire requirement just for downtown office conversions until the end of 2026.
So that suspension is basically a subsidy.
It's a regulatory subsidy. It saves the developer millions, and it signals that the city is all in on making this work.
It's a pretty remarkable alignment then. Federal leverage, provincial cash, and municipal relief.
It is the perfect alignment, and it's the only reason you're seeing cranes on those office towers today.
All right, we've gone through the nuts and bolts, the financial stack. Now let's talk about the bigger picture, the social impact. How does this change the soul of downtown Montreal?
Well, the biggest and most immediate benefit is you break that ghost town cycle. You know what I'm talking about.
5 o'clock hits and everybody just disappears. The city empties out.
Exactly. The sidewalks are clear, the lobbies are echoing, it's deserted. But when you bring in permanent residents, you suddenly have a 247 human presence.
And that creates a whole different set of demands, right? It's not just about business lunch spots anymore.
You see a complete economic shift. Suddenly people need grocery stores, they need dry cleaners, daycares, parks for their kids.
Things that make a neighborhood, not just a business district.
You get a real social mix. It becomes a place where people actually live, not just the place they commute to.
And that ties right into that classic urban planning idea from Jane Jacobs, Eyes on the Street.
It's the foundation of urban safety. When people live in a place, they watch over it. That constant human presence provides natural surveillance. It makes everyone feel safer.
It fosters a sense of community.
Something that's impossible when a place is a ghost town for 16 hours a day.
And what about sustainability? Moving all these people right on top of the main transit hubs, the metro, the RM, that has to have a big impact.
It's a huge piece of the puzzle. It directly incentivizes a car-free or at least a car-light lifestyle.
Right. Why own a car if you live on top of the subway?
The friction of commuting just vanishes. This takes pressure off the roads. It lowers the carbon footprint. It's how you actually build that 15-minute city everyone talks about, where everything you need is a short walk or transit right away.
So as you, the listener, pull all this together, what's the final verdict? What is the specific recipe for making one of these projects viable in Montreal right now?
Okay, so the recipe, based on everything we're seeing, has 3 essential ingredients. 1, you absolutely must use that CMHC APH Select program to maximize your leverage and get that 50-year amortization.
That's the foundation.
That's the foundation. 2, you have to get that crucial 15% of your construction costs back through the combined GST and QST rebates. That's non-negotiable cash.
And the third piece isn't about money, it's about location.
Exactly. The project has to be downtown to get that temporary exemption from the 20-20-20 penalty. That regulatory saving is worth millions if you pull any one of those 3 levers away.
The whole thing collapses.
The whole project probably sinks under the weight of that $300 to $500 per square foot cost.
It's just a stunning example of how government action can enable a huge private sector transformation.
And, you know, while the technical challenges are immense, the plumbing, the windows, all of it, the sources all agree on one thing. The cost of inaction, of letting your downtown core rot while a housing crisis rages.
That cost is much, much higher.
Exponentially higher in the long run. This is essential urban surgery.
So we're really watching the birth of a new, more hybrid, and hopefully more live version of Montreal.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to consider. Montreal has built this very specific 3-layered model to make these massive projects work. But other cities, Toronto, New York, London, they all face the same problem of empty offices and no housing.
So the question is?
The question is, which parts of Montreal's unique cocktail will they need to copy? Will it be the high leverage insurance, the deep tax rebates, or the regulatory relief? What will it take to make these transformations viable elsewhere?
A fascinating equation, and one we'll definitely be watching. That's all the time we have for this deep dive.